But Tim Pool got a little upset and said it's one thing to criticize the war. This is, I mean, anyone can criticize war, all right? And hopefully you do criticize because war bad. It's another to call it a genocide. Massive swing to one side on an issue he doesn't know much about. Which, again, I don't know if you're a reliable narrator here, Tim. You met with Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal. I don't know if I can show this footage. No one dies in it, but there are gunshots being fired at foreign dignitaries. I don't know if that crosses TOS, so I'll just read it out. But the Israeli military fired on delegates from Europe. The foreign delegation in Jenin, West Bank, included officials from the UK, France, Netherlands, Spain, Norway, Italy, and Canada, and they fell into the fire that was being put upon them by the Israeli army. Representatives of some Arab nations were amongst the delegation too. The IDF says the European diplomatic delegation deviated from the agreed-upon route and entered an area that is prohibited from entry. Footage captures the first few moments when the IDF fired upon the European delegation in the West Bank. Again, not an act that I can think of another country getting away with. I mean, in relativity to Canada, for example, the United States, sure. The United States could get away with something like this. It would certainly cause a 24-hour news cycle, and there would be a lot of stories and a lot of angry people and a lot of politicians speaking out about it. But it would, effectively be something that I don't think would bring two nations to, the brink of like war or something like that if it was between the U.S. and Canada. But again, this is the IOF firing upon, delegates from a number of countries whom are considered strong allies, these days less and less, close for sure, but still allies nonetheless. And, in the case of the UK, still selling weapons and arms to Israel. In the case of Canada, still doing it through back channels, selling weapons and arms to the United States, who are then selling them to Israel directly. Yeah, it's a pretty fucked up moment that just took place. And I wanted to juxtapose that with some humanity. Miss Rachel is showing more courage these days than I don't know, almost any politician in the West, I'd say. This is her doing a recent segment which she both uploaded to her channels and YouTube that features a Palestinian child, a 3-year-old named Rahaf.
Let's go back to sleep, Rahaf. We're so tired. See the bunny sleeping till it's near the
She's a double amputee who lost her legs in an airstrike. She is thriving now that she has medical care, healthy food, and a safe place to live. But her young brothers and dad are still in Gaza. Her mom, Isra, is so wonderful. I will never forget the video chatting with Rahaf's brothers in Gaza and imagining myself in her mom's position. She said they don't eat in front of them anymore because they're so hungry they have so little food. It broke me, and I will do everything to help her, Rahaf and her children everywhere whose human rights are being violated. Thank you to Palestine Children's Relief Fund for helping Rahaf and many other children. Again, people keep asking, because I saw yesterday Noah was in the middle of an interview, and it's been asked a lot of times, like, what exactly, I just feel so helpless, what can I do? I keep going to rallies, I keep writing letters, I keep calling politicians, I keep trying to divest from anything that I think is directly related to, what is taking place, but I just don't know. And honestly, it's whatever you can, I think is the answer. And in this case, once again, Miss Rachel showing more humanity than any politician in the West, and using her platform to actually bring attention to a very serious cause at a time when, it feels like most media is in denial. I could not find in mainstream Canadian press any stories yesterday, and I'm just shocked by this, when it was front page news on NBC and a bunch of other networks, including the BBC, about the potential starvation of 14,000 children within the next 48 hours, babies in Gaza. and there's no mainstream Canadian outlets where we're talking about that. I could find some small articles referencing it on not on the front page of some outlets, but there was barely any attention paid to that. What I thought was a shocking headline, and one that, the fact that it was getting mainstream press in places like the UK and the United States was effectively finally going to get a lot of people to wake up to what the fuck is happening right now. But yeah, that seems to not be the case. Meanwhile, Theo Von seems to have gotten a lot of right-wingers upset by coming out with a very strong statement condemning what Israel is doing. Now, I'm well aware that Theo Von not only attended Trump's inauguration, but is personal friends with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. So yeah, make no mistake, there's not only things you could be doing in terms of, using your platform to bring attention to this, but you could speak directly to people in positions of power, or even call them out publicly on your show for what is taking place, and not doing anything to stop it.
I wanted to say something. There's been something that's just been kind of on my heart, and so I feel like I should bring it up. There is, we've had people on the podcast in the past to talk about it. And
like Dr. Gabor Maté.
There's a conflict that's been happening in the Middle East. People know about it, between Israel and Palestine and some of the areas over there, the Gaza area they talk about. And I just think it feels to me, I don't know if it feels to me like it's a genocide that's happening while we're alive here in front of our lives. And I don't, sometimes I feel like I should say something. I'm not a geologist or geographer or anything like that, so I don't know a lot of some of it I do know, though. Like, I know the basics of the issues over there, but for me, it's just like how I feel like you see all these photos of people, just children, women, people, body parts, just people like putting their kids back together. And I just can't believe that we're watching that and that more isn't said about it. And so I'm not saying anyone else needs to say anything, but I think I'm just that more isn't said about it by me. So I just, I want to be able to speak up about that I think we're watching probably like, one of the sickest things that's ever happened. And I'm sorry if I've kind of haven't said about it. I've tried to talk about it and learn about it. But I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to say something. I don't even know what to do. And it's crazy because our country's also complicit in it's in.
Now, one thing you could do is speak to a lot of your friends who are in positions of power right now, who are directly materially supporting the genocide. And again, I said this about Joe Biden. I'm going to say the exact same thing about Donald Trump. He can pick up the phone call. I know there's all these weird videos coming out by your Glenn Greenwalds, and even TLDR has one, but or the stuff you see out of Jank where it's like, oh, Trump is actually at odds right now with Benjamin Netanyahu. There's a lot of tensions between the United States and Israel, and he has a lot of concerns, and he's very deeply upset by all the images of the starving babies and child skeletons that are piling up, and saying that it's starting to look really bad, and all of that is utterly meaningless. It's worth complete shit, right? I don't know, like when it was happening under Joe Biden, it was just so they could continuously move the goalpost, where it would be like, the estimates are that like thousands of people have been killed already in these strikes. Most of them are civilians. We're talking men, women, children, non-combatants. They are not Hamas. They are being starved, collectively punished. This is horrible. And then it'd be like, oh, well, we don't believe the official numbers coming out of the Palestinian Authority. That moved on to, well, yes, but Rafah is my red line. It shall not be crossed. I'm going to pause one shipment of bombs, and if anything else happens, we're not going to do it. And then, oh, yeah, have you seen Rafa today? Because you can't. There's nothing there. It's completely and utterly gone. It's gone. When you look at the photos of Rafa in 2025, it's literally just an apocalyptic scene of dust and what is sure to be thousands of corpses buried underneath the concrete. There is like no credit to be given to whatever weird press leak is consistently being delivered to try and appease people so that they're not sitting there being like, do you not know about this? Did you realize what's going on? Do you know how fucked up this is? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, yeah, the president, Mr. Trump, he's actually at this moment quite concerned and quite upset. And even when things have gone beyond the pale to the point where, you are visually seeing a Holocaust play out on social media every single day, you're still getting people who are trying to do the exact same thing now, where it's like, well, Trump is very, very concerned. Keir Starmer and Mark Carney and Emmanuel Macron released a very strongly worded letter, which hits a lot of the same notes you've heard so many times before. We've always supported Israel's right to defend itself, but this is going too far, and we believe that peace is possible. We're going to be working towards a two-state solution. It's just so wild for them to release a statement like that while not recognizing the state of Palestine in the same breath. Canada doesn't. The UK doesn't formally. And that's something you can do immediately. You can formally recognize the state of Palestine, open up diplomatic channels with them, and you do not have to wait until some conference to do that. You could immediately impose a two-way arms embargo, which depending on the country is something that you're actually supposed to do for a country that is openly committing war crimes. You're not supposed to be selling them arms. But again, you just try to find loopholes around that. In the case of the UK, there's a scandal where they were actually continuing to do it, despite publicly stating that they would not. And in the case of Canada, we have found the loophole where we're simply now selling our weapon systems to the United States, who are then shipping it to Israel. But that way Canada gets to wash its hands and feel like the good libs in the room once again. So there are things Theo Von could be doing, and that's 100% true. And I don't think that you get to, on one hand, have a podcast and sit there and be like, hey, by the way, this is a genocide and it's fucked up and I wish there was more we could do, when you're besties with Ivanka and Jared Kushner. Wow, there is things you could do, actually. You are in a unique position, one that I myself and most other people are not, I mean, outside of being the multimillionaire, super famous podcaster, all that kind of stuff. That's something that he could do tomorrow. So on that, yeah, you can't really absolve Theo there. In terms of, is this good for Theo Von's audience to listen to? Absolutely. Yes. It's a really good thing for people who listen to Theo Von's podcast. I don't know how many millions of listeners he has, but for them to sit there, hear the word genocide, and self-reflect. And if they missed that episode where he interviews Dr. Gabor Mate, who brought him to tears, because he started to reframe the whole thing in a way that you could see that it clicked, right? And humanity activated, +1 humanity achieved. And yeah, it is something that I think, like, the average voter, we're always told, because these are the people who speak for the normies. It's the Theo Vons, it's the Joe Rogans. That's why the Democratic Party is spending $10 million to fucking America's Next Top Joe Rogan contest or whatever. Which, hey, if I can compartmentalize for a second, complete sidebar. You know why that idea is absolutely absurd and ridiculous and just so comical at this point? Why do you think that alone could be a solution to a lot of this? You do have a lot of media figures who are definitely pro-Democrat and align with the Democrats that are willing to meet the Joe Bidens in the White House, like your David Pakmans or your Brian Taylor Cohens, for example, who do have massive platforms. That in and of itself is not the problem. You know what you could do with $10 million in terms of like trying to reach small local TV stations and communities in red states to try and just tell them the truth on a repeated basis. Donald Trump is making you broke. That's all the message has to be. It doesn't have to be about identity politics. It doesn't have to be like just the reality. Donald Trump is making you broke. You are going to pay more in taxes this year because of the way that he is trying to funnel money into the hands of the very few. He is literally an elite who's trying to increase power for the elites. $10 million, you could probably buy a couple of local TV stations in deep red states and influence voters way more than trying to do, we need to spend millions and millions of dollars to find the leftist Joe Rogan and crown him. And then it's like, and what? What happens if you suddenly put all your chips into the idea of this one person who's suddenly the voice of the left? Say it's you crown Midas Touch. Midas Touch is now the Joe Rogan of the libs. And it's like, all right, what happens if they have a single scandal? Like, it seems like most podcasters, YouTubers, and streamers seem to have all the fucking time. Like every other day, especially men. Like, there's entire subreddits dedicated to covering the amount of people who turn out to be really shitty. And then, there's so many stories that I can't even keep track of them anymore. When you go like to half of them, you're just like, holy shit, what the fuck? Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that person wants to eat people's feet, like not sexually. He just literally wants to be a cannibal. That's not good. We shouldn't have given them the $10 million and made them the Joe Rogan of the libs. Where's the Alex Jones of the libs, I ask you? And then someone's like, Jimmy Dore, and okay, fine. Can't say much on that. Anyways, I digress. Back to Theo. Again, good thing for the audience to hear this message. Absolutely. That's a net positive in terms of him as a person. Before you go to pray at the altar of Theo Von, know that, again, he is friends with a lot of these fucking full-blown fascists who are in power doing fascistic shit right now in the United States. So you are actually in a unique position. If this is where your heart is and what you believe, mashallah, God bless, great news. And now pick up the phone. Pick up the next time you were going for dinner with Ivanka and Jared. Tell them. The next time you were invited to the White House to eat with Trump, talk to him. You have the ear of the people who could directly put a stop to this. But Tim Pool got a little upset and said it's one thing to criticize the war. This is, anyone can criticize war, all right? And hopefully you do criticize because war bad. It's another to call it a genocide. Massive swing to one side on an issue he doesn't know much about. Which, again, I don't know if you're a reliable narrator here, Tim. You met with Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal. You sat across from him. You didn't do a citizen's arrest. You apparently weren't even allowed to talk about it because of certain rules, which we all got to learn about. But to sit across from the person who is directly responsible in committing the genocide, to look him in the face and then nothing. No strong words, no condemnation at the very least. I'm not even telling you that you have to become Batman on the spot, but, maybe a mean phrase, you could be angrier at him than you ever were at Sam Cedar. Would make sense, right? Like, I know you hate Sam Cedar, but I mean, he's not a war criminal. Benjamin Netanyahu's a war criminal. There's that whole thing. I know you hate Emma. Absolutely despise Emma. I think Emma's a pedophile until, it comes time to go for sushi and poker with the boys. But, I mean, why be angrier at Emma Vigeland? You were ready to falsely smear and accuse Emma Vigeland of being a pedophile than you were to criticize a war criminal committing a genocide. What does that tell you? Oh, and by the way, I think this might be one of the bigger ratios into the sun that's happened in 2025. But Hassanabi says, every human rights organization, the UN, virtually all genocide scholars are all wrong. Benjamin Netanyahu told Tim personally it's not a genocide. So there you have it.
So you may have noticed some different music playing at the start of the show. That's because I wanted to make some new music with Chico. I'm going to upload a bunch of different themes to patreon.com/theserfs where you can be the first to hear and vote on your favorite one, and then it'll become the official theme song for the show. And if you can't support that, hey, no worries, it'll all be available free at soundcloud.com/theserfstv. It's also in part a project to try and learn and revitalize the Michif language, which is the Métis language, and unfortunately, considering all the world's languages is currently going extinct, unless we keep teaching it.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Saline, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwick, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com/theserfs.